David Lammy.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm very grateful to speak in this important debate this afternoon, and can I just say that I'm very pleased to follow the new member for Kensington, and that I hope that I can work with her on issues in relation to Grenfell as I was able to work with her predecessor, and I thought that her contribution to the debate today was a very, very good start. Madam Deputy Speaker, on the morning of the 14th of June 2017, I woke up at around 5:30 a.m. and when I checked my phone, I saw dozens of message notifications. My wife's phone just next to it wouldn't stop buzzing. I shook her awake and we began to scroll through our messages. Clearly we were in complete shock as tears flooded down our faces. The first images and videos we were confronted with were of a burnt-out shell of a building that we had known for much of our lives. Grenfell Tower had turned black. Its windows were fluorescent with orange light. My wife and I were just two of many hundreds of people who woke up that morning to find out a friend or a relative had been burned alive. In the wake of the fire, I assumed that this man-made disaster would be a defining moment in how we think about housing in this country. It exposed, in my view, a tale of two cities. In the wealthiest borough of one of the richest cities in the world, 72 people were forced to live in a tower wrapped in flammable cladding, their complaints about the block's unsafety ignored by authorities in the months and years before. Back in summer of 2017, I would never have imagined, frankly, that the response, and that includes the government's response, would be so very, very appallingly slow. I cannot believe that I'm standing here in a new decade, the next decade, and the government still cannot say, and that's in a sense the summary of what the Secretary of State has said, that all necessary action has been taken to prevent another fire like Grenfell happening again. You will have heard some of the statistics already today, but they're worth repeating so the message gets through. 91 out of 159 social sector buildings found to have Grenfell-style ACM cladding have still not had it removed. 174 out of 197 private sector buildings, and that's what we know about, are in the same situation. On any analysis for those families living in those buildings, this must be defined as cruel and unusual punishment for all of us who are in the House this afternoon, particularly those of us who are parents. Imagine the stress and the strain of being in a building that could go up in the way that we saw Grenfell Tower goes up. This means that for more than 2.5 years, thousands of concerned families have had to go to bed at night afraid that what happened in June 2017 might happen to them. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm afraid much of the blame for this inaction lies with the government. It took them one entire year to provide the funding for councils and housing associations to remove the cladding. It took 2 years for the announcement of a fund to help privately owned blocks. Ministers set a deadline at the end of 2019 to make social blocks safe, and June 2020 for private blocks. What is the explanation for why by the first target has been missed, and it looks likely that the second will be missed? The inaction on cladding is only matched by the treatment of the survivors of the fire. Families have expressed frustration and anger at the chaos and the lack of organisation over the past 3.5 years. Much of this, of course, lies at the door of Kensington and Chelsea Borough. In Inquest's report, that's the charity that supports many of the families, which included 55 of the 72 families who lost a relative, there was serious criticism of the government's response to both the local and national level. Families have been made to feel like bystanders rather than participants in the inquiry proceedings. They've not been given adequate notice of hearings and fast disclosure of legal papers, and many have been locked out by technical jargon and inadequate language support. Most shockingly, 31 months later, 9 Grenfell households are still living in temporary accommodation. When are these families going to be allowed to get on with their lives? Madam Deputy Speaker, at the start of the last election period, we were shown the truth of how some in the government really think about the night of the Grenfell Tower fire. The Right Honourable Member for North East Somerset blamed Grenfell residents for lacking common sense by obeying the orders of the fire service to stay put. Defending him, the Honourable Member of the North West Leicestershire explained it was because he is more clever than the Grenfell victims. I've got to tell you, I was appalled by these statements, and in a different era, if you make statements like that, what follows is the honourable thing, which is a resignation. Moving forward, I'm glad, obviously, today that the government has accepted all of the recommendations made by Phase 1 of the inquiry. And of course, I congratulate Sir Martin Morbick for a very thorough first phase inquiry that is some 1,000 pages long. But there are things that we need to take away from that. And whilst I too would not want to do anything but add my own tribute to those firemen that rushed towards so many people, as I said in the last debate, I'm hugely disturbed that my friend Khadija Say heard fire officers on her floor in the early hours of the morning, but those officers did not come to her door and drag her and her mother out, as it were, out of that building. And had she left earlier, I'm absolutely convinced that she would be alive today and not have lost her life on the 9th floor. I'm concerned that we now need to create a new independent body, a national oversight mechanism, to make sure that not just that the government accept the recommendations, but that the recommendations are implemented. And because of all that we've heard about previous fires, previous reviews, previous inquests, previous recommendations, and then inaction, I think it's really important that we have some kind of body that sees this time that there is implementation that flows as a result of what everyone has been through. And we need to reintroduce the Public Authority Accountability Bill to create a duty of candour from state and private bodies. It's important that we do not allow the sequencing of this inquiry to scapegoat, of course, the brave firefighters who risked their lives that night. The bulk of the responsibilities lies with decision makers in successive governments and private companies who cut corners on fire safety. By doing this, individuals in positions of power, in my view, committed gross negligence manslaughter. And whilst this House makes much of Sir Martin Morbick's inquiry, let us not at all forget that there is a police investigation in those decisions that have been made. And I hope that at some point this House is updated on how that police investigation is proceeding, because for many, Justice will be served when survivors see arrests, survivors see prosecutions, survivors see those responsible for this crime given the justice that many of us believe